Welcome back to our channel History Coins HD. As you that old is gold, but these rare $quarter coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. If you've ever held spare change in your hand and thought, this is just pocket money, today's video might just flip that belief upside down. Because buried among those ordinary coins could be a tiny treasure trove worth a small fortune. Today, we're diving into one of the most intriguing coins in American numismatic history, the 1965 Washington quarter dollar. It might seem like just another quarter, after all, millions were minted that year, but hold on tight, because this coin hides a secret that could make it worth a jaw-dropping amount of money. Let's travel back in time for a moment. The year is 1965. The Beatles are topping the charts, the space race is heating up, and the United States Mint is undergoing a dramatic shift in its coinage. Up until 1964, quarters were struck in 90% silver. But with the rising cost of silver and increased demand for coins, a huge change was made. The Mint decided to remove silver from quarters and switch to a copper-nickel clad composition starting in 1965. That may not sound earth-shattering, but this decision had enormous implications, and it's right here where the story of the rare 1965 Washington quarter begins. You see, in the chaos of transitioning from silver to clad, a few mistakes happened. And from those mistakes, legends were born. Somewhere, in the massive production process, a very small number of 1,965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets. Those are the blank discs used to make coins. So instead of being made with the new copper-nickel material, these rare quarters were made from the old 90% silver composition. Imagine that, a coin that wasn't supposed to exist, sneaking its way into circulation. Now here's where it gets even more exciting. At a glance, a 1965 silver quarter looks nearly identical to its copper-nickel siblings. But the real difference is in the details. The edges of a silver quarter are solid and smooth in color, unlike the copper-nickel versions, which show a distinct reddish-brown copper ring on the side. Also, the sound is different. Yes, the silver version actually rings more sharply when dropped, but the most fascinating part? These silver-struck 1965 quarters are so rare, so elusive, that they become one of the holy grails for coin collectors. And because of that extreme rarity and high demand, the value of these coins has skyrocketed in recent years. Let's talk condition for a moment. If you find one of these rare quarters and it's been heavily circulated, scratched, or worn down, it may still fetch a few hundred or even a few $1,000s. But if you're lucky enough to discover one in nearly pristine condition, especially one graded by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, it could be worth life-changing money. Just imagine, a single coin, designed for 25 cents, but hiding a story and a value beyond imagination. Now, how do you know if you might have the rare silver 1965 Washington quarter? First, check the edge. If you don't see that copper strip along the edge and it feels a little heavier in your hand, you may be onto something. Second, if the sound is crisper and the color has a silvery hue, you might want to get that coin authenticated. The next step is to have it weighed. Silver quarters weigh slightly more than clad ones, around 6.25 grams instead of 5.67 grams. So, what kind of value are we talking about? Hold on to your seats. There have been verified auction records of the rare 1965 silver quarter fetching between $80,000 and $120,000. That's right, a single mistake in minting, a quarter never meant to be, could be worth more than a brand new luxury car, or even a down payment on a house. Incredible, isn't it? The kind of story that makes you want to check every quarter in your drawer, every coin in your change jar, and every forgotten stash from childhood piggy banks. This is why coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's a modern treasure hunt. And in that pile of everyday change, you just might discover a piece of history that's also a priceless gem. So if you enjoyed this journey into one of America's rarest modern coins, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell for more amazing stories from the world of rare currency. Every coin has a tale to tell, and you never know which one might make you rich. Top 2 that turns ordinary pocket change into potential gold mines. If you've ever shrugged off a quarter and tossed it into a tip jar or coin tray, today's story might make you pause and take a second look at every coin you come across, because somewhere in America, tucked inside forgotten drawers, stashed in old jars, or hiding in plain sight, could be a simple-looking Washington quarter from 1981 minted in Philadelphia that might just be worth a small fortune. Now, before you say, 1981? That doesn't sound that old, hear me out. This coin isn't just about age, it's about mystery, rarity, and a hidden error that turned a common coin into an incredibly valuable collector's item. So, let's dive in. The 1981 Washington quarter was minted in the millions, so at first glance, there's nothing extraordinary about it. It features the familiar profile of George Washington on the front, the bold word Liberty above his head, and the motto, "In God We Trust," on the left. The mint mark P for Philadelphia sits quietly beside the portrait. On the reverse, the majestic eagle perches on a bundle of arrows, a timeless symbol of strength and preparedness. But here's the twist: something unexpected happened during the minting process that year. In a small batch of coins, an unusual error occurred, leading to the creation of what collectors now call the rare 1981 P Washington quarter error coin. It's not just one kind of error either. There are multiple reasons these coins have drawn massive attention from experts and collectors alike. Some of these 1981 quarters were struck with a weak or missing mint mark. Others show doubling on key details like the date or the word Liberty, caused by a mistake during the die production. But the rarest and most valuable versions? They were struck on the wrong planchet altogether, planchets meant for other coins, such as dimes or foreign currency. That's right, coins that were never supposed to exist ended up in circulation. Now think about it: an innocent-looking 1981 quarter, slightly off in weight or appearance, quietly slipping into circulation. Most people wouldn't notice. Most wouldn't care. But those few with sharp eyes and a little curiosity have stumbled upon something extraordinary. Let's talk condition for a second. As with any coin, the value increases dramatically when the piece is in near-perfect shape. Coins that are graded MS or mint state by professional services can skyrocket in value. Even minor blemishes or signs of wear can mean the difference between a few dollars and a life-changing payout. So if you ever find a strange-looking 1981 quarter, don't toss it aside, examine it carefully and consider having it graded. And it's not just collectors who are hunting for these coins. Auction houses, private investors, and coin dealers across the country are actively seeking out high-grade examples of this mysterious 1981 P Washington quarter. Because the rarity isn't just in the error, it's in finding one in pristine, untouched condition. Most coins from that year have been worn down through decades of use, but a few, just a lucky few, have survived with sharp details and smooth surfaces, waiting to be discovered. Now comes the part you've all been waiting for. You're probably asking, okay, but how much is it really worth? Well, if you happen to find a 1981 P Washington quarter with one of these rare errors, especially one that's been preserved in near mint condition, you could be looking at a coin that's not worth 25 cents, not even a few $100s, but something far more shocking. Believe it or not, some rare versions of the 1981 P Washington quarter have been valued between $62,000 and $110,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single quarter, worth less than a cup of coffee when it was made, could now be worth more than a luxury car, more than a year's salary, and more than most people have sitting in their savings accounts. So next time you get change back at the store, or clean out an old box of coins from your closet, take a moment. Look closely. Check the date. Check the mint mark. You never know what forgotten treasure you might be holding right in your hand. Top 3: if you're someone who loves hidden gems, real-life mysteries, and the thrill of finding something valuable in the most unexpected places, then you're in for a treat today, because somewhere, perhaps even in your own pocket, there could be a coin that millions of people have seen, but almost no one has truly looked at closely. We're talking about the 1990 P Washington quarter, an everyday coin with an extraordinary secret. Now, you might be thinking, wait, 1990? That's not that long ago. I see those quarters all the time. And that's exactly what makes this story so fascinating. In the world of rare coins, age isn't everything. Sometimes, it's about what went wrong, what was overlooked, or what was accidentally released into circulation. The Washington quarter has been a mainstay in American currency since 1932. It's a coin we all know well: George Washington's proud profile on the front, a bald eagle spreading its wings on the back. But in 1990, something happened at the Philadelphia Mint that turned an ordinary quarter into a rare collector's dream. Let's set the stage. By 1990, the U.S. Mint had well-established procedures for coin production. But no system is perfect. And that year, a small number of Washington quarters left the Philadelphia Mint with an error that would eventually shock the numismatic world. In most cases, the error was subtle. Some of the coins were struck with misaligned dies, causing off-center designs. Others were created using worn-out or improperly prepared planchets, resulting in quarters that look different in texture or detail. But the rarest and most prized versions of the 1990p quarter are the ones that were mistakenly struck on the wrong planchets meant for other denominations or even other countries. Imagine that, a United States quarter with all the markings of a Washington quarter but struck on a blank intended for something entirely different. These coins may be slightly lighter, may have a different tone or color, or might be missing certain design features entirely. To the average person, they just look a little off. But to a trained eye? Their treasure. Even more intriguing are the few 1990p quarters that appear to have doubling in their inscriptions or design, especially around the word Liberty, the date, and Washington's profile. These doubled die errors are highly sought after and can increase a coin's value dramatically. So how can you tell if you might have one of these rare 1990p quarters? First, look at the edge. Does it show the usual copper and nickel layers, or does it look more solid and silvery? Next, check for any unusual weight. A normal quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. If it's more or less than that, you could be holding something rare. Also, examine the fine details. Are the letters perfectly clear, or do they appear doubled? Does the design look shifted or slightly off-center? And remember, condition matters. A coin that's been handled a lot, scratched, or worn down will never bring in the kind of money that a pristine, mint-condition specimen can. That's why grading services like PCGS and NGC are so important. They can authenticate the error and certify the condition, which gives your coin real credibility in the marketplace. And now, let's talk about demand. You might be surprised to learn just how competitive the market for these rare quarters has become. Collectors are always on the hunt for unique mint errors, and quarters from the late 80s and early 90s have become especially popular because they're recent enough to still be hiding in circulation, yet old enough to have developed collector appeal. And that brings us to the question everyone's been waiting for: just how much could a rare 1990p Washington quarter actually be worth? If you find one of these rare error coins, especially a quarter that was struck on the wrong planchet or shows dramatic doubling, and it's in exceptional condition, then you might be holding a coin worth between $55,000 and $100,000. Yes, a simple quarter. A coin you might have used to buy a candy bar or pay for parking. It could secretly be a 5 or even 6-figure payday just waiting to be discovered. So what are you waiting for? Go check that change jar, dig through that old coin collection, and inspect every quarter from 1990 with a Philadelphia mint mark. You never know, you just might be holding a piece of American history that's worth more than you ever imagined. If this video blew your mind, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another story like this. Because here, every coin has a story, and some of them are worth a whole lot more than 25 cents. Top 4. We're shining a spotlight on a quarter that most people would never give a second glance, a coin you might have passed over hundreds of times without realizing it could be worth a small fortune. We're talking about the 1971p Washington quarter. And now, at first glance, this coin looks like your run-of-the-mill American quarter. George Washington's face stares forward with that iconic sense of dignity and resolve, just like on every other quarter since 1932. But if you think this is just another piece of spare change, you'd be seriously mistaken, because hidden among the millions of 1971 quarters are a few incredibly rare pieces that were never meant to be released. And these rare survivors have turned into some of the most sought-after coins in modern American numismatics. Let's take a moment to set the scene. It's the early 1970s. America is in the midst of cultural change. The Vietnam War is raging, NASA is planning the last few Apollo missions, and inflation is beginning to creep into daily life. Meanwhile, over at the US Mint, millions of coins are being produced to meet growing demand. It's fast, it's hectic, and yes, mistakes happen, and one of those mistakes gave birth to a legendary numismatic mystery. You see, the 1971 quarter was supposed to be struck on a copper-nickel clad planchet. The era of 90% silver coins had officially ended in 1964, and by 1971, silver was reserved only for special collector's issues like proof Eisenhower dollars. But somehow, somewhere in the production chaos, a few leftover silver planchets, or possibly foreign coin blanks, were used to strike quarters. That's right. A handful of 1971p Washington quarters were accidentally struck on the wrong metal, creating an ultra-rare variant that's now the stuff of legend. But that's not the only twist. Some 1971 quarters were also found with dramatic double die errors, especially noticeable in the word Liberty, the date, or the motto, "In God We Trust." These doubled features are caused by a slight misalignment when the coin is being stamped. And though they're hard to spot at first glance, a close-up look under magnification reveals the truth. There's also the possibility of quarters being struck off-center, or having a misaligned die that leaves part of the design shifted or incomplete. And of course, there are a few with weak or missing mint marks, adding even more intrigue to the chase. Now let's talk about how you can spot one of these hidden gems. The first thing you want to check is the edge of the coin. A normal 1971 P quarter will show a distinct copper-colored ring around the edge, thanks to its clad composition. But if the edge appears to be one solid silver-like color, you could be looking at a rare error. The weight is also key. Regular clad quarters weigh about 5.67 grams, but a silver quarter will be slightly heavier, around 6.25 grams. If you have a scale that measures to the hundredth of a gram, you could solve a mystery sitting in your coin jar right now. Now remember, rarity is only part of the equation. Condition is everything. A rare coin that's been scratched, worn down, or damaged will always be worth less than one that's been preserved in pristine condition. Coins that are bright, clean, and sharp in detail, especially those that have been professionally graded by services like PCGS or NGC, can command astonishing prices at auction. And speaking of auctions, here's where the story really gets jaw-dropping, because while most 1971 quarters are worth just 25 cents, the rarest examples, those with minting errors, struck on silver planchets, or preserved in exceptional condition, have shocked collectors and experts alike with their value. In fact, a rare 1971 P Washington quarter with the right combination of error and condition has been valued between $70,000 and $115,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single quarter. The kind you might have used for a soda or tossed into a parking meter could, under the right circumstances, be worth more than a luxury vehicle or even a down payment on a house. Incredible, isn't it? So don't underestimate the change rattling around in your car, hiding under your couch cushions, or collecting dust in a drawer. You might just be holding a piece of American minting history without even realizing it. Top 5. We're diving into a seemingly ordinary coin that you might have seen thousands of times in your life, a coin that might be sitting in your car's cup holder, sitting in a coin jar at home, or maybe hiding in your wallet right now. But don't let the everyday look fool you, because what if I told you that a simple quarter from 1995, yes, the 1995 P Washington quarter, could actually be worth tens of thousands of dollars? You heard that right. And today, we're going to unravel the story behind one of the most surprising and valuable modern era coins in the United States. So sit back, pay close attention, and whatever you do, don't skip a second, because this might just change the way you look at your spare change forever. Let's start with the basics. In 1995, the United States Mint was operating at full speed. The economy was booming, the demand for coins was high, and minting operations across the country were producing coins by the millions every day. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by the P on your quarter, was one of the busiest. The Washington quarter had been in circulation since 1932, and in 1995, it still featured the classic design, George Washington's profile on the front, the powerful bald eagle on the back. Everything about it looked just like any other coin, but here's where the story takes a turn. In the midst of all that mass production, a few mistakes were made. Mistakes that, while invisible to most, would go on to create one of the most sought-after error coins among collectors today. Among the 1995 P quarters, a rare handful were struck with what's known as a double die error. This happens when the coin's design is impressed twice, slightly misaligned. The result? The lettering, especially in areas like Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date appears slightly blurred, shadowed, or doubled. To the untrained eye, it might just look like a slightly worn or smudged coin. But to a numismatist or a savvy collector, it's a jackpot waiting to be recognized. But the doubled die isn't the only anomaly. Some 1995 P quarters have been found with off-center strikes, where part of the design is literally missing because it was misaligned during minting. Others show weak or missing mint marks, die cracks, or were even struck on the wrong planchet, a blank intended for another coin. And that's where things get even more interesting, because when you combine rarity with a dramatic minting error, and then add near-perfect condition to the mix, you have a coin that collectors are willing to go to extraordinary lengths to acquire. So how do you know if you have one of these elusive 1995 P rarities? Start by examining your quarter closely. Look at the word Liberty. Is it crisp and clean, or does it appear to have a slight shadow or doubling effect? Next, look at In God We Trust and the year 1995. If any of these details appear doubled or stretched, you might just be holding one of these valuable error coins. Also, don't forget the edge. While the clad quarters of this era usually show a copper core on the edge, a rare error struck on a wrong planchet might look different in weight or color. If anything seems off, don't dismiss it, investigate. Of course, condition plays a major role. A heavily circulated coin may still be valuable, but a pristine example, especially one graded by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC, can take the value into a whole new realm. Now you might be asking, okay, this all sounds incredible, but what's it actually worth? Well, here's the exciting part. Some of the rare 1995 P. Washington quarters, especially those with dramatic doubling or struck on the wrong planchet in near perfect mint condition, have been valued between $48,000 and $95,000. Yes, you heard that right. A quarter. 25 cents. Something we so often overlook or drop into a vending machine without a second thought, could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a year's college tuition, or even a significant down payment on your dream home. So the next time you get change back from a store, take a moment. Look at your quarters. Check the date. Pay close attention to the P mint mark. And most importantly, examine the fine details, because the most valuable treasures are often hiding in plain sight. Thanks for watching, and if this video blew your mind, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more amazing coin stories, and tap the bell so you never miss another hidden gem from America's rich coinage history. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and never underestimate the power of the coins in your pocket.